Headlines.
Precisely 6:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. News edited by J. Yogaraj and read by Sharifa Tahir. Headlines. UN Chief assures fullest positive cooperation to Sri Lanka. The President said that the internal issues of Sri Lanka should be resolved through an internal mechanism of the country. The Tamil diaspora would be invited for discussions in this regard. The President says that he is always ready to work closely with the UN, and the President assures that there is no room for separatism to re-emerge in Sri Lanka. The 76th session on UN General Assembly commences today under the patronage of US President. Daily COVID-19 cases in Sri Lanka moves to 1,509 yesterday. Sri Lanka records 93 COVID-19 fatalities on Sunday. US to ease travel restrictions on fully vaccinated foreign visitors. News overseas. Afghanistan update. MOD shared Afghan interpreters' details on email. In sports, England withdraw from October tours to Pakistan. Local news in detail. The United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has told President Gotabaya Rajapaksa that the UN will provide its full support to Sri Lanka in moving forward to promote unity among different communities. The UN chief gave this assurance when he met President Gotabaya Rajapaksa at the UN headquarters yesterday, the Presidential Media Division said. Mr. Guterres warmly welcomed President Rajapaksa when he arrived at the United Nations headquarters and reminisced about his visits to Sri Lanka in 1978 representing the Inter-Parliamentary Union and his visits to Kandy, Anuradhapura, Polonnaruwa and Trincomalee. Mr. Guterres also recalled his dealings with Sri Lanka during his tenure as the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees and his meeting with then-President Mahinda Rajapaksa in 2006. The Secretary-General noted that Sri Lanka, as a country which plays a more active role in social and economic spheres in the Indian Ocean, the UN is expected that Sri Lanka would continue to do so in the future too, despite the crisis that has plagued it for nearly 30 years. President Rajapaksa said that he was pleased to have the opportunity to hold a bilateral discussion with the Secretary-General of the United Nations and congratulated him on leading the United Nations during a difficult period facing the world, as well as on his re-election as the Secretary-General. President Rajapaksa briefed the UN Secretary-General on the challenges facing a country like Sri Lanka with a small economy in the face of the COVID pandemic. President Rajapaksa spoke at length on the impact of the COVID-19 epidemic on education and the economy of Sri Lanka and thanked the World Health Organization for its support to overcome the pandemic. The President pointed out that more than half of the total population has been fully vaccinated and that all arrangements have been made to fully vaccinate all those over the age of 15 before the end of November by showing the statistics. The Secretary-General commended the progress made by Sri Lanka in the vaccination drive. The President pointed out that the COVID-19 pandemic was a major obstacle to fulfilling the pledges made to the people when he became the President in 2019. Even amidst this situation, the President elaborated on the steps taken to address the issues arose in the aftermath of defeating terrorism that lasted for 30 years. The President explained the compensation paid to the victims, the transfer of lands back to the owners, and the massive development carried out in the North and East provinces since 2009 under the guidance of President Mahinda Rajapaksa and the opportunity given to democratically elect the representatives to the Northern Provincial Council. The President informed the Secretary-General that the government would take immediate action with regard to missing persons and expedite the efforts such as issuance of death certificates. The President pointed out that many youths who were arrested as suspects over terrorist activities were released after he came to power. The President informed the Secretary-General that legal action would be expedited with regard to rest of the personnel who could not be released and that he would not hesitate to grant a presidential pardon to the Tamil youths who have been in custody for a long time, taking into account their long-term detention and after the legal process was completed. The President stated that his objective is to strengthen the democracy in Sri Lanka and accordingly, there are no baton attacks or use of water cannons on protesters under his government and that a separate area has been set aside for protesters near his office. President Rajapaksa also explained the engagement with civil society organizations to bring about development and reconciliation in the country. The President said that the internal issues of Sri Lanka should be resolved through an internal mechanism of the country and said the Tamil diaspora would be invited for discussions in this regard. President Rajapaksa said that he was always ready to work closely with the United Nations and added that though he could assure that there is no room for separatism to re-emerge in Sri Lanka as a government as well as other states should be vigilant about religious extremism. The 76th session of UN General Assembly commences today under the patronage of U.S. President Joe Biden. The first day of the high-level general debate will be today, the 21st of September 2021. The general debate will take place from today to Monday, the 27th of September, including Saturday, the 25th of September. Due to the global pandemic, the size of delegations allowed into the General Assembly Hall will be limited. The UN member states were encouraged to provide pre-recorded statements in lieu of travelling to UN headquarters. Over 100 heads of state or government are expected to attend in person. The UN General Assembly is the main policy-making organ of the United Nations. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation giving you the news. Continuing with more stories here at home. The Epidemiology Unit of the Health Ministry reports yesterday that another 673 persons have tested positive for COVID-19 in Sri Lanka, moving the daily total of new cases to 1,509. This brings the total number of confirmed cases of coronavirus reported in the country to 506,009. As many as 433,093 recoveries and 12,218 deaths have been confirmed in Sri Lanka since the outbreak of the pandemic. The Epidemiology Unit's data showed that 60,698 active cases are currently under medical care. The Director General of Health Services has confirmed another 93 coronavirus-related deaths on Sunday, increasing the official death toll in the country to 12,218. According to the figures reported by the Department of Government Information, the victims include 45 males and 48 females, while one of the deceased is below the age of 30. 24 of the COVID-19 deaths are individuals between the ages of 30 and 59, and the remaining 68 are persons aged 60 and above. The United States plans to ease travel restrictions on all fully vaccinated foreign visitors starting in November, the White House said on Monday, relaxing a patchwork of bans that had begun to cause fury in Europe and replacing them with more uniform requirements for inbound international air passengers. The new rules will require all foreign nationals arriving in the United States to show proof of being fully vaccinated, the White House COVID-19 response coordinator Jeff Zients said. He said the new rules would take effect in early November, a timeline that will give agencies and airlines time to prepare. The lifting of blanket restrictions on travel to the United States from certain countries will come as welcome news to thousands of foreign nationals with families in the United States who have been kept apart for almost the entire pandemic. In addition to requiring vaccination, the administration said it was taking other steps to mitigate spread of virus in 3 other areas: testing, contact tracing, and masking. Fully vaccinated foreign nationals and American citizens returning to the United States from abroad will be required to take a pre-departure COVID-19 test within 3 days of their flight and show proof of a negative result before boarding. Unvaccinated Americans returning to the U.S. will be subject to stricter testing requirements, CN said, including a test within 1 day of departure and an additional test when they return. The Parliament will meet today at 10 a.m. 5 standing orders of port and aviation tax, 6 standing orders foreign trade commodities tax, and 3 standing orders of foreign exchange will be taken up for debate today. A debate on regulations of Import-Export Control Act will also be held today. That's local news.
A mother knows the pain of each member of the family. Siddhalepa, the trusted relief for aches and pains.
An effective therapy for relief from cold, sneezing, flu, headaches, swelling due to toothaches, rheumatic, discomforts, and muscular aches and pains. Siddhalepa, the Veda Mahatmya in every home.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya.
The National Environment Act will be amended to suit the present conditions. The main objective of this exercise is to mitigate the damages caused by environmental pollution. Meanwhile, the environment protection regulations will also be strengthened during this process. Accordingly, clause number 42 will be added to this act. That's our main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya. Brush your teeth twice a day for healthy teeth and gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, your trusted brands in oral care for many years.
Supiriviki Ayurvedic toothpaste for adults. Kakulu Ayurvedic toothpaste for kids. 9 Ayurvedic ingredients of Supiriviki will protect your teeth and strengthen your gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, products from Siddhalepa.
And now in Watchlight.
Claiming that there was no issue for cardiac patients to receive COVID vaccine, cardiac specialists requested all active and chronic cardiac patients to receive both doses of any COVID vaccine, claiming that they were more vulnerable to develop complications or even death. Cardiologist of the Negombo Hospital, Dr. Disna Amaratunga, told a news conference of the Health Promotion Bureau that it was not an issue for the cardiac patients who had undergone bypass surgery, stenting, or any other surgery to receive the COVID vaccine. She said cardiac patients should continue their medication even after getting infected with COVID unless a doctor advised them to discontinue the medications. That's on Watchlight.
World News.
World News headlines: Afghan interpreters details on email. US opens up to fully vaccinated travelers. Melbourne construction sites shut after violent vaccine protest. World News in detail. Defense Secretary Ben Wallace has launched an investigation into a data breach involving the email addresses of dozens of Afghan interpreters who worked for British forces. More than 250 people seeking relocation to the UK, many of whom are in hiding, were mistakenly copied into an email from the Ministry of Defense. Their email addresses could be seen by all recipients, showing people's names and some associated profile pictures. The MOD has apologized in a statement. The US is easing its coronavirus travel restrictions, reopening to passengers from UK, EU and other nations. From November, foreign travelers will be allowed to fly into the US if they are fully vaccinated and undergo testing and contact tracing. The US has had tough restrictions on travel in place since early last year. The move answers a major demand from European allies. That means that families and friends separated by the restrictions can be reunited. Finally, on World News, Australia's Victoria State has shut construction sites across Melbourne following a violent protest against mandatory COVID-19 vaccines. The protest was against a requirement for staff to prove they had received a vaccine dose to access their workplace. Officials said some sites would be shut for up to 2 weeks after construction workers and other protesters clashed over the coronavirus measure. Property was damaged and police said several people were arrested. That's on World News. Moving on to development news. A water distribution system is implemented at Ampegama, Araliyoyana in Galle District. Galle District Development Committee Chairman Parliamentarian Sampath Attukorula says around 60 families will benefit from this project.
Sports news.
England's scheduled tour of Pakistan for 2 T20 internationals in mid-October has been cancelled, the ECB have announced. England's men and women were due to play T20 international double-headers in Rawalpindi on October 13th and 14th, with the women's team staying on for a subsequent 3-match ODI series. But following New Zealand's last-minute withdrawal from their tour of the country due to a security threat, the fixtures have been scrapped. The ECB used the same security consultants, ESI Security, as NZC, and despite Wazim Khan, the PCB's chief executive, insisting on Sunday that he expected the fixtures to go ahead as scheduled, they were immediately in doubt after New Zealand flew home. That's on sports news.
A safe, easy and versatile app for all your banking needs. NSB Pay for monetary transactions, bill payments, reloads, credit card payments and Lanka QR transactions. A range of facilities with multiple account registrations. Access to your bank needs wherever you are. Download the NSB Pay app from the Play Store or the App Store for free now. For more information, call your nearest NSB branch or 0112 379 379. Conditions apply.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
iPay, a unique payment aggregator introduced by LOLC, Sri Lanka's most valuable and globally diversified financial conglomerate, has become the first entity in Sri Lanka to sign up for the Digital First program launched by MasterCard. The Digital First program was initiated to facilitate an end-to-end digital journey benefiting cardholders, merchants and financial institutions. It was introduced to meet the rising demand for convenient and secure transactions around the world.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
A safe, easy and versatile app for all your banking needs. NSB Pay for monetary transactions, bill payments, reloads, credit card payments and Lanka QR transactions. A range of facilities with multiple account registrations. Access to your bank needs wherever you are.
Creating history in the Sri Lankan ICT sector, the island's first assembled 4G-enabled mobile smartphone would be released to the market by Micro Electric International Private Limited, Colombo, by December 2021. It has been branded HiPro 4G. Chairman Micro Electric Dhammika Samaravikrama said that they had already signed the IGAV agreement with Lodule International Limited of South Korea, and the phone model and other design details are finalized. That's on economic news.
Weather report.
The Met Department says showers or thunder showers will occur at times in Sabragamu and central provinces. Several spells of showers will occur in western and northwestern provinces and in Galle and Matara districts. Showers or thunder showers may occur at a few places in the Uva province and in Batticaloa and Ampara districts, particularly in the evening or night. Mainly fair weather will prevail elsewhere. This weather report was published this morning at 4:30 a.m. Further details could be obtained by visiting the official website of the department. Meanwhile, the international weather forecast website AccuWeather.com predicts that Colombo weather would be generally bright and during the day, but there will be cloudy weather in the afternoon. Today's daytime temperature would be around 30 Celsius. There will be light showers in many places in Colombo district in the night. Tonight's temperature will be around 27 Celsius and there will be scattered showers in recent selected spots late in the night. The ground temperature would be 27 Celsius at the time of this news broadcast. The air quality index is 16, which shows fair condition in Colombo. The air quality is generally acceptable for most individuals. That's the weather update, and back to the headlines. UN chief assures fullest positive cooperation to Sri Lanka. The President said that the international issues of Sri Lanka should be resolved through an international mechanism of the country. The Tamil diaspora will be invited for discussions in this regard. The President says that he is always ready to work closely with the UN, and the President assures that there is no room for separatism to re-emerge in Sri Lanka. The 76th session UN General Assembly commences today under the patronage of US President. Daily COVID-19 cases in Sri Lanka moves to 1,509 yesterday. Sri Lanka records 93 COVID-19 fatalities on Sunday. US to ease travel restrictions on fully vaccinated foreign visitors. England withdraws from October tours to Pakistan. With that, we conclude the morning bulletin of news, and it's over to Soundi to give you some good company for the next